Welcome to She's All Over the Place. I am so excited to have you here. I have an artist on for you today. She's amazing. Her name's Jeannine Penn. She's a creative director, artist, designer, visual thinker, creative problem solver, NFT artist, and a humanitarian. And, I found her presence, her essence, her vibes through Kindred Hearts. And I got connected with Kindred Hearts through Ash Cooper Kearns, who I greatly admire in the space. I've been involved in the space since 2018. I love the nonprofit sector that Ash Cooper Kearns stands for, the space, who she is, that value that she adds. And so my listeners here, you've heard Kindred Hearts before because I have definitely shilled them on the podcast because I'm all about being in heart center, and that's what life's about. And that's Kindred Hearts is all about. And so I'm really excited to have the artist and the founder of Kindred Hearts on today. Hey, Jeannine, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? It's so nice to see your face and not just hear your voice.
Yes.
And have a good chat. Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. So let's just dive right in. Kindred Hearts, how did it manifest and birth? Was it years ago? Did it just come to you? How's the manifestation of Kindred Hearts?
So I have to clarify something because I don't want to take credit for something I didn't do. I'm the creative director, not the founder. The founder is actually Johnny Utah. And what happened was before I met Johnny, so my whole start of NFTs happened because of Clubhouse and COVID and getting into that world. So Johnny was in some rooms talking about this very heart-centered giving back, crypto, actually bigger project, not just about is it an NFT, but how through cryptocurrency he could give back. He felt that his family had, all things considered during COVID, been fairly comfortable, and he was watching so many people suffer, and he wanted to find a way. So Favorite is the parent company of Kindred Hearts, and Kindred Hearts is the first project. And the mission is to do good in the world and do it through art and cryptocurrency. I came in as creative director through recommendations of three people he had talked to: Sheila Darcy, sketch poetic, Black Dave, and Be Creative. And there was various reasons that they thought I would be perfect for the project. One is I have a lot of experience in marketing, creative direction, and working on big projects. I do, like you, live a very heart-centered life that's very much about giving back and how can we help other people and causes and be doing that as much as possible. And I also have done a lot of art that has hearts. And they had been talking about, that wasn't the main reason, but that was also like a little light bulb of like, Jeannine Penn would be great for this because I've created a lot of hearts, not in a corny way, in a more emotional and processing of grief and celebration of life. And so I came in as co-creative director. And I couldn't be more aligned with the project than Kindred Hearts because it touches everything that's important to me.
Yeah, it's been beautiful watching it grow. And thank you for sharing. I have a lot of questions. And yes, Johnny Utah, and he and I follow each other on Twitter, but we haven't met IRL yet. So I really look forward to meeting him in person. And so when they found you and brought you on as a creative director and you being an artist as well, I seen, along the way, like Jimena Bonavita, like you've done a collaboration with her and, other curations of artists that y'all have done collaborative projects. So was that collectively your vision as the creative director, assigning to say, hey, we're going to do collaborations with these NFT artists and this is why?
Huge part of the vision was let's bring in as many artists as we can and make this about collaboration, but also community. That it was really important for us to be inclusive, but also find other like-minded creatives that would want to be part of something like this because of what the mission is. And so we reached out to at least 100. We ended up with about 60.
You had 100 offerings and you had 60 yeses?
I think the no's were either no's or they never got our emails. I don't know if you've found this, but in this space, sometimes trying to find the right way to communicate with people is hard. So there were people since then were like, why didn't you ask me? I'm like, yeah, you didn't check your email or it went to your spam. But some people were also really busy. There are some people that are like crazy busy.
Yeah, for the person tuning in, and I was just so excited to dive in. If you're not into the YouTube video, please, we're on video, slide over to the YouTube Katie Chonacas channel, and you can watch the visual of us right now. So this is really important for the person tuning in because, in the 4 agreements with Don Miguel Ruiz, one of it is like, don't take things personal. And so we as sensitive beings, as artists in a creative space, we take it so personal. So, Jeannine just said it. Like, we sent out 100 invitations. X amount of people never checked their email or didn't receive it, or it got lost in the shuffle, or maybe they were under contract and wanted to get to and didn't. People are busy. So, always follow up in a professional way. Like, give it a week or two. Like, I wrote an email to someone a month ago and she wrote back today. I had 2 different emails that she responded to. And, there was Bitcoin Unleashed, there was Austin. So people are like so busy. So
They're so busy.
So it's really important. Yeah. Like a gem thing to take away for success and sincerity when you're doing it from the heart and you reach out to someone and they don't respond to you, because a lot of times it doesn't happen. Sometimes it slips, but we can just like learn from this and just send a follow-up email. I think that's like really important, especially I have a lot of entrepreneurs and, actors and in the show. And, a lot of times it's from a different perspective than like a marketing or a creative director perspective. So that one's for the person tuning in who might feel a little
I would
weak
say
in
to
that
anybody
way.
that's on a professional level of any type, like, communicate back to somebody, even if it's, I'm really busy. Thank you for reaching out. Like, I can't do one more thing. It could be short and sweet. And obviously if somebody never got it and it went to their spam or something, that's different. But we tried really hard to get as many people as we could. We're happy to have 60. But it's not only artists that we have. We also have people that we've given back to, that we knew we were going to, that we have a poet. We have...
Is it Jessica?
No, it's not Jessica. It's Cadence, the poet.
Okay, Cadence.
Do you know Cadence?
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I met Jessica after. I would love to have Jessica in the future. She's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We did Domance together in South by Southwest. We were both the spoken word poets in the exhibition, which was really cool.
I think that you were in Domance with me.
Okay. You were in Domance too?
I was. Kindred Hearts was in Domance with Jen Joy.
Yeah. Are you in Figure Glyphs right now? I'm in Figure Glyphs right now. It's going to be showing at NFT NYC. Figure Glyphs, the work of the human body.
I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I did not submit anything for anything in New York. I just was so busy. I couldn't do it.
See, it's okay. But hey, we are already energetically connected in so many ways. We've been in NFT exhibitions together, and it was like the first of the first. It was like a huge deal to be a part of those exhibitions. And we were in those shows together. That's so cool.
We were. I was in Stratosphere last year, which was an amazing aha for me because it was newly in NFTs, and I knew Sabat a little bit. So I was just starting to pay attention to things. And so that was in Beijing, right? His first
I remember
show.
When he went to Beijing. I didn't know that was the first one.
The show was in Beijing, and then it was in the metaverse. So this was all new for me, like every part of this at this point. That was the first thing.
Spatial.
Spatial. Is it spatial or spatial?
VR. Spatial. Spatial. VR.
Something like that. Or spatial. It might just be spatial. I don't know. You might be saying it right and I'm saying it wrong. But it was that. And I have a passion project that I've been working on called 100 Lives Project, Legacies of Ordinary, Extraordinary People You Won't Find on Google.
Well, one second before we move along. It's Stratosphere, STRATOSPHERE. And then it's Sabet, SABET, who I've shilled and talked about so many times on my podcast. Obviously, love Sabet, the homie. And the other one, so it's SPATIAL and then XR. So if you want to look them up. But good news, I'm in the exhibition. I got the email yesterday.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
As a poet.
You know what? I'm not sure which works they selected of mine. I'm not sure because you know how it is, right?
I do.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, okay. To that point, last year, I think I submitted 4 or 5 things, right? And same, they're like, congratulations, you've been accepted. And I didn't know they didn't say which piece. or pieces. I didn't know if one was going to be different than the other one, which I don't think that's what happened. I don't even remember. So you're waiting to see your piece, right? What's it going to be? I was sitting here. It was still highly COVID. My son was home. He's in college now. And I go to the virtual part of it and I gasped because the piece that I submitted is the grandmother I never knew. I've been creating a lot of art around legacy. And my initial beginning of this project had nothing to do with NFTs. I did it. My mom died over 30 years ago, and I was working through whatever with that and all of these things. I found these photos in a drawer that my mom had left in these old albums. And I was like, who's going to care after me and my brother? And I just started creating art around it. And to see this image, so it was like a collage that I created from an old photo of my grandmother who made hats. So the hat has all this stuff in it. And to see it in the metaverse, I called my son in. I'm like, Cole, you have to see this. I said, that's your grandmother. And my whole thing with the name of this project is, if you're not famous pre-Google, you have no footprint. My mother, who did amazing things in this world, but not famously, right? Like she walked with Cesar Chavez. She wrote for 25 years letters to Jews in Russia to help get rights. She would help the neighbor down the street who had cancer get fed, the family got fed. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? So if you Google her, you see a gravestone. That's it. My grandmother has no trace at all. She came over on a boat and her brother died. And there's if you try and trace her.
When she came over on the boat, was it Ellis Island?
It must have been, right?
My yaya came over on the boat. She spoke no English in Ellis Island from Greece.
That's so cool. She actually came from the Ukraine.
Oh, Ukraine. Okay.
She was part French, I'm named after her.
There's an ancient proverb, and I'll paraphrase right now, but they say you die twice. So you die when you physically die, and then you die when your legacy dies. So the people who are going to be telling the story. So I'm so moved, for you to have these and then pay it forward and put them on Web3 and put them out there in a cool, creative way and honor and celebrate that with your children. I mean, how cool with your child, how cool is that?
It's very cool, but what it's turned into now is I realized that was very personal, and I love that I've done that work. But how could I take this and make it for anybody that might have, because as I would tell my story about my grandmother and my mother, somebody would say, oh, I have this aunt that was this amazing fashion designer, and I have dresses in my closet and nobody's ever going to see them. So I came up with this project concept, the 100 Lives Project, legacies of ordinary, extraordinary people you won't find on Google. And I'm actually putting together a proposal my original vision was to create a website. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of Humans of New York. That's the closest thing I could find that's similar. It's totally different, but just telling people stories.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say you had your Yaya, is that what you call her?
Yeah. It's who I'm named after.
But she's still alive, right? You were saying
yes, she's growing strong. She's going to be 93 in September.
That's
she's
amazing.
So strong. That's where I get my strength and
she
my
came
life
over
force.
from Greece.
She came over speaking no English from Greece to give me, her future family, a better opportunity. Her family, her current family at the time, and her future family.
That's amazing. So
great stories.
The requirement of my project is it's for people that are no longer alive, but the intention is that their legacies live on, because everyone has amazing stories, right? And how do we keep those people from long ago that did something amazing but not famous alive? And then Web3 comes in to add this whole layer. I want to do an installation where you might have the dresses and art and all this other stuff and tell stories. So that's my passion project besides Kindred Hearts.
And then how many do you have right now?
This got backburnered with Kindred Hearts. And now I'm working on a proposal that I'm taking to New York, a deck, because I want to start building this website. So maybe 20, but it's not anywhere yet. It's just in my world.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably like one of those visual creative thinker things for another time, but I just want to sow the seed so I don't forget and we can talk about it more in depth. But what if I was talking to this book publisher before, because obviously I'm in podcasting. Hello. And she was on the podcasting side and now she's on the book publishing side where she's taking like podcasts and making them books, but also like, oh, if you know any cool stories, blah, blah, bring them my way. Like maybe this could even be like some kind of book or something, right? Like
it could be. I could totally see it being a book with the stories.
Right?
I wanted it to be a website so that it can keep populating stories. I love the idea of an installation, but now I also see the whole Web3 NFT part of really locking in this forever, place for somebody to live
and
for other people to access, somehow. So I have to lace it all together, but I'm not even sure how we got to this, but yes. Oh, because of Sabet and Stratosphere.
Yes.
And being able to see this is like amazing to me.
Exactly. Yeah. And then long story short, and then we'll pivot. This person particular that I'm thinking about is very interested in Web3 and was at the boom of Web1. So I think it'll be a cool, energetic, even exchange for people to learn and grow and like it be energetically flowing for all. So
I would love to. You know what? I was at the boom of Web1 when I moved from New York to LA to work at this big agency, Chiat. Every day people were calling like, we want to start this thing and we want to like House of Blues I worked on and things that are not this thing called Den, like all these, because I was in entertainment marketing and promotion.
Okay. So let's just flex for a minute since we didn't do it in the beginning. No, it's going to be in the show notes. That's where I usually put all the stuff, but let's just flex. So just to get like, douse people into like, HBO and like all these names and highlights of these brands and marketing and things that you've done, like just give us some vibes of your passions of what you were doing for how long.
Okay. So I'm from the East Coast and I live in Los Angeles and I was living in New York, sort of the, growing height of my career was working in entertainment on promotional packages, graphics, etc. for television. My first really big good job, I've had many jobs before, was HBO. And it was kind of early in the days, it was in the 90s, all the original programming of HBO. So Dream On, Tracy Ullman, Comic Relief, all that great stuff. And that was the beginning of my career path in entertainment and creative direction. And I loved what I did. It was really fun. I loved the people I work with. And I just kept going from different jobs. I was lucky enough to be recruited to do I worked at Lifetime for a short time. Then I worked at Grey Entertainment on ABC television, the W Hotel launched, other things. Long story short, I got called a year later because the ABC account had gone to TWBA Chiat. The client wasn't happy with their creative director and they wanted me. And in the advertising world, when you want somebody, they go hard after whoever it is. And I really didn't want to move to LA, but they made it impossible for me to say no. So I ended up here. I thought it was going to be for 2 years in 1998. And now here I am. So I did that. And then I have a 20-year-old son. And when he was very early, I was a single mom and I wanted to be in his life more. So I started pivoting like crazy. And I was a co-creator of a play space for young children with families that was like a big hub for all the, hip moms and dads and families to come and celebrities to have birthday parties.
Where?
It was on Robertson Boulevard near Burton Way. It was called the
Cute.
Treehouse Social Club.
Where the Ivy is. Is it still there or no?
Down a little further. Unfortunately, it's not.
Ron's Tea Garden. Do you know Ron's Tea Garden?
Yes, right next door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right
Love
next
it there.
door.
Oh,
like,
cute.
Yes,
Cute,
I do know Ron's Tea Garden. So I pivoted a lot. And also because of my son, I was born as an artist. I've been an artist my whole life. And it's just the thing, we have some things as children that we're just attracted to doing and want to do that's sort of almost in our DNA. And that was art for me. I always wanted to be making things, whether it was drawing or macrame or pottery I have a painting that I did when I was 8, an acrylic painting that I'm even impressed when I look back and say, I did that when I was 8. But when
Wow.
I was going to college, my father said do something more practical. And at that point, I listened and I went to architecture school first. And by default, I got into graphic design. And I barely did my own art for years
Yep.
until I had my son. Because I didn't have time. I lived in New York. I was out like 350 nights out of 365, running around being a creative director. It was awesome. And I also dated for 4 years a big restaurant guy. We would go out. Like, so I didn't paint. I didn't do art. I just was around it. I went to galleries, museums. I loved it. I hired illustrators and photographers, really great photographers to take celebrity photos. And so I was creative, but no art. And my son had
You were
no
just
choice.
surrounded by, immersed in it.
Always,
Right.
always
Even going to the theater. I mean, the opera and everything.
theater. Not a lot of opera theater, yes.
Are we going to be
Depends
able
on
to
that.
see a show in New York when we're there together? Let's get real. Are we going to be able to? Like, come on.
If you twist my arm and we find time, and the craziest schedule I've ever seen.
We could maybe even do a matinee. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah,
But that'd
yeah.
be cool. That'd be cool.
That would be fun. What would you see?
I like to go to TKTS and be a kid in a candy store and like pick one and get them like half off. But I'm open. Like since what
I haven't
happened,
seen anything in forever, so
yeah.
there's
Well,
nothing I have except for I saw Dear Evan Hansen a few years ago.
okay, cool. So I saw a Book of Mormon in April. Was it April or March? And but that was the first time me being in the theater since 2020. So if it can happen, we can put our feelers out. We'll look at each other's dates. But yeah, very cool. Okay, so thanks for diving into all of that. Really amazing. So I'm wondering, what's your process as an artist? What tools are you using currently, and what are your favorite tools to use all time?
All time, I want a canvas with paint, ink, paper, and I want to be able to get messy and dig in and probably mostly do abstract mixed media. That's my favorite. But
You're
at the
speaking my
moment,
language.
yeah, at the moment, I'm not doing a lot of that because we're in construction in the back to finally build a dream studio. So I've been mostly digital in the last couple years, more
Yeah.
digital, which I feel lucky that pivoting's been easy for me because of being a creative director. I've used the tools for years, a long time. HBO was very advanced in having Macs when they first came out. So I'm aging myself a little, but we were one of the first studios to use them. But what's interesting is the people that come out of school now, and like people like my son who's 20, like they're so intuitive and they know how to do things that I don't understand. All this 3D stuff, that's not my thing. So I like digital. And I what I do a lot of times is I actually take paintings and things I've created and digitize them, and then I'll do digital on top of that. And then
Yeah.
sometimes I'll print that and do analog on top of the digital on top, like just layers and layers of things.
Yeah. Very cool. Personally, I donated over 40 pieces of my physical paintings because, as you know, they're your babies. And, I had art shows. I sold some I had in a storage for over a year. And then I got rid of one of my storages. And it was right before the pandemic. And I gave some away. I donated a bunch. And it was like a psychological unloading. And by unloading those, I was able to be psychologically free to create more. However, because they're your babies, right? Or my babies, I took photos of them. So I'm able to have all those photos, although I, gifted them and paid it forward in the world, and hopefully they're well taken care of. I have the photos of them, and they're works that I did. So that's with some of my paintings. I prefer painting as well. I love getting my hands dirty and doing 5 paintings at one time. And I put them in rotation, one's on the back burner drying. And I love acrylic because it dries fast, but I do like oil. But you put it on the back burner. I love story collages. It was difficult as an artist to get involved in digital art because I felt like I was selling out in such a way. And my hand couldn't get in there with the painting how I like to with the paint. So it was quite difficult to do that. And then I like taking images because I love taking photography as like a hobby, but taking photos and putting them in there. And then I would be in Procreate and doodling over photos. So that I found like really fun to be like using digital art with doodling. And then so for Kindred Hearts in digital, are you using Procreate? Like, is it on your iPad? Like, is it at your desk? Like for an artist to know like how you're making your pieces, the NFTs and your digital art now, like what's your process for like the tools?
So Kindred Hearts, just for people that is a generative project. We have 10 different layers. This is my first generative project, so sort of learned in the process. We have 10 different layers to the project, and the three main layers are the heart is at the core, the background, and what we call charms. There's an upper left and lower right charm. And then we also have sacred alchemy. We have moods. We have like special magical numbers like 888, 1111. And then there's 5 different types, the platonic solids, so earth, wind, fire, air, water, and spirit. So we have all these different properties. And what we did in our project, I mentioned, I don't know if this was on air, but we were talking, and we have about 60 creators and contributors besides us. And they were assigned, they had the choice of doing the heart, doing the charms, doing the background, or doing all 3. And then we also have 21 one-of-ones, and only 3 have been revealed so far. So we got more minting to do and more reveals to see. So then we worked with our devs to create our own unique generator so that each of these layers there's like a background layer, and let's say there's 80 background options, and we have a lower half, and it could be a whole background. So you might have like a Jimena background with a Charmaine. These are some people in NFTs that if you're following NFTs, you would probably know, like a Charmaine heart. And you might have inside the robot, Stephanie Dillon charm and a vintage Mozart charm. And then the rest of it we've generated. And then we have our Kindred Hearts backgrounds as well. So the combinations are literally in the billions of what you could get.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
my mind's going.
Yeah.
So the thing is, it takes a village. It's not just one person. When you're doing a generative project, it really takes, people we can trust and a team spirit, and to have, community and friendship. And, friendship means so much. And I know, a lot of people throw out the word community a lot these days. And, I don't know, for like, it's been like a buzzword for the last 3 to 5 years, for real. But even before that, like, my music partner, he was just, his voice and how he speaks, always talking about community. Like he grew up in the Bay Area with 2 moms, right? And so his like way of thinking and his way of being is just, when he was like talking about like community so much, it's still very new for some people when you speak in that way. And some people, don't understand what community like really means. And with that being said, I was talking about community and how the word gets thrown around a lot. And, to demystify and just get crux in the heart of community is, your ethics, morals, and values, and friendship, the kinship, the friendship. And so, I just wanted to land on that and kind of hone in more on Kindred Hearts. And, I know personally they raised over $40,000 so far. And then, Jeannine, please share more about the successes and the amazing things that have happened since you've been on board of Kindred Hearts.
Sure, I'd love to. First, I have to say, I couldn't agree more about the idea of kinship and friendship and community. And something new that Black Dave's brought up is also culture. It's that you find people that are sort of in a similar culture. And Kindred Hearts, not only the people that have contributed, certainly our team, the artists and the contributors, but I've noticed that the people that are attracted to it and want to be collectors and want to be part of it, they all really are living heart-driven lives and love art. That's the combination. So our project from the very beginning has had creators that are not your typical artists. I met Lema Gaboui, who is a Nobel Peace Prize winner at a dinner party at a friend's house. And I was talking to her about NFTs and crypto really quick. She actually helped create peace in Liberia. For anyone that doesn't know, you can look up more about her. And it happened that one of her children worked for my friend, and that's why she was there. And I was just invited to meet a Nobel Peace Prize winner because I'm friends with them. And it was just a cool opportunity. So she looked at me like I had three heads when I talked about NFTs. But I followed up with her, and her daughter said, "Mama, if you don't do this, it's a big mistake." So we made the Gaboui Foundation one of our first charities that we knew we would contribute to. But the initial plan with Kindred Hearts was to donate after we minted out. And the Giving Block, which is one of our partners that we work with that does crypto donations, and Ash probably also brought this up, they were doing a matching program when we first started minting. And so we thought, how could we not take advantage of this now and be able to give even more sooner, even though it wasn't the initial plan? So we raised enough money to donate $40,000 to the Gaboui Foundation, to Meeting Street Schools, which is a school that serves under youth that doesn't have access to a lot of other things, underserved in North or South Carolina. And then we also ended up, because this was all right around the time of the war, Ukraine war. So we also donated to Save the Children, that the money went to Ukraine. Lema also is one of our one-of-ones. I cannot wait for people to see her piece. Meeting Street School is one of our one-of-ones. And we also have another group of young women. An advisor on our team works with these young girls who are in compromised situations. Some of it's sexual abuse, some of it's other things, and they're in a safe place. And so a lot of our layers are from these girls. They have to remain anonymous, but you'll see their art, and it's just under Upbring. Is that what it's called? I should know what it's called. So those are part of our contributors as well as all of our artists, which is really cool. And we're
love
really
it.
proud.
Yeah.
We're really proud that we've been able to donate that much so far.
Yeah. And then do you know Blue Moon from intent.art, Blue Moon?
I do not.
Okay, I'm going to introduce you to Blue Moon. She's actually on the podcast, but she did one drop NFTs for menstruation for like girls who menstruation products are taxed as a luxury good. And there are people who have to like decide like food or like feminine hygiene. And so obviously, being a woman, like if you get an infection, like bad things could happen, especially if you're, maybe not be able to have children and like create life. So I think there could probably be some good cross in between.
Absolutely.
So she had one drop, which is showing in New York, but she has one drop NFTs. But it became so popular in the Web3 community, they have a season 2 of One Drop. So I think maybe Kindred Hearts could do a collaboration with One Drop. I think it could be really amazing bridge connection for girls and children. I think it could be really neat. Yeah.
That would be great. It's interesting that years ago I worked with an organization that was all about giving people diapers. Sometimes there are these really, really simple things that people don't think about how necessary they are, and that sometimes people can't get the most basic things that they need, in not just in other countries, but in this country.
I have chills right now because it's totally, we could go into the whole healthcare system and like how you have to jump through hoops just to get a doctor appointment, you know what I mean? Or find the right doctor. It's like, it's so confusing. So honing it in, so the person listening and watching this right now, the person tuning in, they're like us. Their heart strumming in such a way. They're probably like crying on their electronics, saying, how can I help? How can I be a part? Or how can people be a part? How can they get involved in Kindred Hearts, whether it be as an artist, donations, just like being an advocate, being a healthy communicator, things of that nature. And then the second part to that, I guess we'll get to it, but is if artists want to submit to be a part of, as to be like one of an artist for Kindred Hearts. So, how can people get more involved?
The first thing I would say is if you are a collector of NFTs and you're in this space, or you want to be, we'll happily help you get on board. Lema, who I mentioned, we onboarded as a nonprofit as well as an artist. And there's other people that, we're very much about that. So I know it can be really intimidating to think about getting a MetaMask and doing all that, but there are resources. So if you're starting, we'll help you. But assuming that you are into NFTs, we're calling it a MOGO, mint one, get one, going on right now until June 19th.
I can't. What?
So you mint one and you get a mint pass because we really want to mint it out.
What's MOGO?
Instead of BOGO, buy one, get one.
Sprouts, buy one. Come on, I love BOGO. Yeah.
So this is a MOGO, mint one, get one.
Okay.
So if you mint Kindred Hearts, which is kindredhearts.io, there's a form probably on our Instagram, but definitely in our Discord, or follow me, XOJ9, at XOJ9 on Twitter, and just send me a DM and tell me, hey, I minted one. I want one, or Kindred Hearts.io on Twitter. So those things, following us, if you're not minting Kindred Hearts.
Till June what?
Oh, June 19th.
What if people hear this and it's after June? Can they still get the MOGO?
Yeah, we're pretty easy. Just say, I heard you on Katie's show and I did it.
Okay. So it'll be in the show notes, the official website, and your handles will be in the show notes.
Whatever you need from me, Katie, we'll make it happen. So
yeah, definitely.
We'll do it. And because we very much want this to mint out so we can go to the next level. And there's 7,777, and we want it in as many wallet addresses as people want. So that's the first thing.
And congratulations, because you just hit 3,000 on Twitter. Woohoo!
We did.
Yay!
Which is an accomplishment, and we're all organic. We have no, paid bot stuff going on. We wanted to be an authentic community tribe, as we've talked about.
Yeah.
So please retweet. That's really helpful. Tell people about it. That's really helpful. And come when we have rooms and spaces, and just share the love. For artists that want to get involved, we've had a couple contests. We'll have more. Original project, you can't contribute to because that's in a contract. And so the contract can't be changed. But there will be new sub-projects and, as I said, contests and different ways that we'll raise money in other projects. So we will, right now it's through contests. Just let us know if you're interested. Submitting to a contest, you probably win something as well as get recognition. And we will be doing our first contest art soon that will be auction, which will be money that will get donated. Also through Giving Block to some, decided upon charitable place, or one of our major, the Gaboe Foundation or Median Street School. So those are ways you can get involved and volunteer. If you're someone that is really good with rooms, if you are good with social media, if you are good in Discord, we're always looking for extra people.
Great. Love all those resources and openness of availability to onboard and jump in and to learn and grow and align with great ethical people. Sounds like a win-win all the way around. Other thing that came to me is, what if someone is listening and they're like, my school or my family or this community or these people in this state or these kind of people need support and need funding. How can they pitch to inform the project, and the people, like, hey, and maybe fill out a form to say, can we allocate these funds over here? Do you have that, or are you set in stone of where you want to allocate those funds?
We're definitely not set in stone. We're set for now, but not in stone. And our whole mission is, this is the beginning of, we're in it for the long haul. And we're very, we pivoted with Ukraine, wasn't in our original plans, right? There's other things that have come up, and, we've discussed it and we haven't yet. But so we don't have a form. That's a great idea. We should have a form, but we have a channel in Discord. But I know some people really listening may have nothing to do with Discord, which is not my favorite thing. So the best would be contact me or do it. Hopefully people are on Twitter, because if you're in Web3, you need to be on Twitter. I prefer Instagram. We are favorite IO on Instagram, but I have to be honest, and Instagram is not as big for Web3 and NFTs. So I'm encouraging anyone listening that wants to be in this role to get on Twitter anyway.
Yeah.
And
Because if
communicate.
if you found the podcast, you're on the podcast. Maybe, you can get to a Twitter or make a Twitter. And speaking of Twitter, I want to say, because for the person tuning in who doesn't know about Twitter, how often do you have Twitter spaces where one can go and listen and raise their hand and come up to the stage and speak, and no one sees each other, but they're just listening? For people who don't know about Twitter spaces, it's free. And that's where the Web3 community is exchanging energy and building and growing and learning and sharing. I mean, I could look at my phone right now and there's like 24 rooms going on 24 hours a day. Well, maybe around 2 a.m, there's like 8 rooms going around of people I follow. But how many times a week do you have spaces where people can join in and volunteer or just come to learn more?
2 to 3, mostly Twitter, occasionally Clubhouse, less Clubhouse these days. A lot of us were very, very, I still love Clubhouse. I do. It's a little more intimate, but 2 or 3, that is also a place if somebody does a lot of rooms and wants to host us, we'd love to come join, because we're a small team and we're really open to doing that as well.
Blue Moon does weekly Menstrual Monday rooms, and then Intent.art, they're picking back up after NFT NYC. They do rooms as well. So I'll connect you so, we could co-collab, do some rooms together.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
1,000%.
The person that's probably strongest in doing that on our team is Black Dave.
Yeah.
Who does many.
He helped me out in the Discord when I was like asking questions, like before it started minting and stuff. What?
I hate Discord, but it's so funny. I mentioned earlier, I have a 20-year-old son who's been on it for years, and I never really got it. And now I have many, many more channels than him. And he's laughing at me. He's like, I don't even go on it anymore, Mom. I'm like, I know. I have to go at least once a day and see what's going on.
Yeah. I found out recently, because I joined a Discord, that 100 is the max channels. I had to leave a Discord to get into another one, unless you just start a new account, which is you can do. But I think it's great. It's a great tool. So when Nyla had her, the kids, the link pass and the kids with Zigaloo, and because everyone was minting at the same time, the site went down. It was great to talk to the tech team, to go into Discord, to see the community, because you feel anxious, excited. You don't want to miss out. Everyone's having, like FOMO and isolated, and they're alone. But when I went into the Discord, the computers, the website's down, the people are like, oh, give us 5 minutes, it'll be back up. They work something out, and then you're a part of the community. You're like, and then I went to the website. I was able to click and mint. So I think Discord is cool as a tool for me personally, not to chat on all the time, but for information, like if you're doing the Mojo, what is it? Mojo? The Mogo. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Like Bogo, but Mogo. Yes.
Mogo. So when you're doing the Mogo and you're finding out if you're going to, like, the events may be happening and, meetups and informational things, Discord is great just to get practical information. And I was in one Discord before for Tezos, and I wanted to mint one of the things, and I didn't have a wallet yet. And they showed me instructions exactly what to do to mint. Do you have that in your Discord for people to just go into the Discord to look at the instructions for minting under wallet, and then it just takes them through the instructions? Because that was really helpful when I did Tezos.
Okay, I should know the answer to this. And knowing Dave, who set us up, or he's directed to a resource for people.
Cool.
One or the other. I don't know if it's actually in there or there's a resource, but we talked about it early on that we would have a lot more people that probably never have done this before. So I know we provided resources.
Great. Okay. And I know we've gone all over the place, and I want to honor you and your everything. So is there any last words you want people to know, or any wisdoms along the way, anything you want to share?
I would say you and I are talking because of this space, or I probably wouldn't know you. And it's really kind of an amazing perk of joining this crazy roller coaster ride of Web3 and NFTs is the people that you meet.
Yeah.
So don't be too intimidated. There's a lot of people that want to help. If you're new and if you're already in it, I hope I meet you soon somewhere in real life or virtually.
Wonderful. Well said. Thank you so much, Jeannine. I appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show, and we'll love to have you back in the near future.
Thank you so much for having me and being so patient with my technical difficulties.
It's a part of it. It's a part of it. It's all good. All good.
Yeah, I want to do it again soon, and I'm going to see you in New York next week, which I know this might be on later, so I don't want to mess that up. But yes.
Yeah, all good. Evergreen episodes. Evergreen episodes. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribing. Because of you, we are in the top 1.5% of all podcasts, almost 3 million podcasts. I am so honored and so blessed to be here with you having this experience. The Women Empowerment series has been so fulfilling. I was in my mind, I was like, how is this ever going to end? There's no way. There's so many great stories. I can, hold so much space for so many great people. And it's just been so empowering, and to listen to other people's stories and, not feel isolated and just, it's just been so magnificent. But the truth of the matter is, I am so hungry for you. I am so excited that, normally after a season concludes, I take, 8 to 12 weeks off, but I am so motivated that, when I was at PodFest not too long ago, all the education, all the information I got there, I really honed in. And so I'm going to be closing up season 4, the Women Empowerment series, and taking it with me into season 5. And I'm going to be going right into season 5, and it's going to be Hollywood and NFTs. So stay tuned for more. Share this episode with one person, and make sure you're following Jeannine. Everything's in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in and being here. Also, I have NFT merch, Chonacas.com, if you want to go to my website and see what I'm up to. Would love to have you there. And I'm getting ready to release my 3rd book, so I'm really excited about that. So it's called The Actor, My Greatest Love Thus Far. So this has been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.